Good afternoon, everyone. The weather has finally cleared here in the Netherlands, and well, on one side of the house it's blue and a hint of sunshine and blue sky, I mean, and on the other side it's gray skies. So I don't know, gray clouds. I have no idea what the weather is going to do today, the rest of the afternoon, but that doesn't matter. We are going to write. And there's still a lot of writing to do, at least for me. I mean, yesterday I did not make my goal of 2,000 words during the live stream, and unfortunately I had other things to do after that, so I didn't have time to write anymore. And this morning and early afternoon I was a tiny bit occupied with a course about the Unreal Engine, a game engine, so I didn't write anything again, although I was creative, but in another way. So today it is day 25 of the National Novel Writing Month, and we are going to write today. I have no idea how long I'm going to do it. I planned it for about 2 hours, but since I have no plans for tonight, I might go on longer and I might do more writing sessions today. For those who don't know me, my name is Ilse. I am a magic wielding dragon companion and creator of worlds, and I love to create worlds. And perhaps I will tell you a bit more later on about the world of Tergaenae and things I found. But we'll have to see about that. I have to tell you that I need permission from the Tergaenae High Council before I can tell you many of the details I have found in my discovery journey. So yeah, we'll see about that. But I am here to help you on your author journey, and right now we will do that with live writing sprints, live writing sessions. The sessions I do are 25 minutes of writing, and then we will take a break to see how we are all doing, and maybe take a tiny bathroom break or something else, and we will talk about what we achieved during this session, and then we will go for another session. So hopefully I will get to that 2,000 words today, and hopefully even more, but we'll see about that. Do share in the comments and in the chat how you are doing and what your goal is for today and how we can help you. Dida, thank you for joining. For those who don't know, Dida is my moderator and longtime writing friend. She's a wonderful sparring partner for me and for others in our community Discord as well. And Dida, you say you fulfilled your day's goal already, so you're good. Excellent, excellent. That's great to hear. And I know Dida is wonderful with writing and as well as with world building, and she has an exciting story, but I can't tell you anything about that. I will leave that to her for some point in the future. It's so wonderful to be able to discuss things with her and to spar about world building and about my story and about my characters and things like that, and also to do that with my other community members who might join in later. And it always feels rewarding, and it feels for me at least, it feels great to be able to talk about things that I'm not quite sure about if it would work, or things I haven't quite figured out yet. And people like Dida and my other community members will always ask questions about more information and about details they want to know about my characters and about that particular topic of the world I was talking about with them. And that really helps me develop my story and to develop my world. So it's wonderful to have such a community, and it's awesome to have a moderator and longtime friend like Dida. And Dida, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's so lovely, and I'm very fortunate to have someone like Dida in my life, and also I have a few other friends here in the Netherlands who have helped me in the past as well. So that's always fun. Dida, you say you can't emphasize enough that it's important to have allies in writing. It makes a difference to work one another good. Exactly. I mean, often it is said that writing is a lonely job, but in fact it isn't. Or at least that's how I feel. Sure, most of the authors write their own story. There are some authors who write together, who write the story together, but it will not be. They won't be typing at the same time, the same sentence. Let me put it that way. But I mean, those are a couple writers like I think Nikki French. How do you spell that? I don't know. There are other people, and of course there are the ghostwriters and other forms of writing where you work actively with people to write one story. But oftentimes it's us as a lonely writer. We sit at our desk and we write. And we just pour out the words that come and put them on paper, be it digital or be it physical. It doesn't matter. We'll just keep on writing. But the writing process is not only about getting those words on paper. It's also about having those characters and having the storyline and having the world. And that is where other authors and other creative people come in and who can help you develop your characters and develop your story and develop your world. For example, I have an artist friend. I have mentioned him in the past, Andy Fraser, or Dragons of Wales. If you have come across him, he is an amazing artist, and he makes awesome artwork of dragons. And I discussed a concept of a creature that I had thought of for Tergaenae, and which also might come into play in the Genoma Chronicles, a game I'm developing, and in another smaller game, JC's Bad Galore. I think this flutter nymph, because it is the flutter nymph, will be a sort of mascot in a way of my studio and of all my worlds, because I simply love the creature. But Andy and also Dida helped me really pin down how my creature was gonna look, because I had this conceptual vision, but I needed to know more, and I wanted to know from an artist's point of view also if the vision I had was something that could be translated into art, and if I were to give that description to an artist, if an artist could even work with it. In the end, I'm now making it myself just to try it out and to see what I can learn from making art, especially because I'm also into game design, so that helps. And having their responses, their questions and comments, both from Dida and from Andy, on my conceptual design, it helped so much in making the flutter nymph better. So I was very happy with that. Dida, catching up with the chat, Dida, you say one great reason to make friends who are writing and not compete as well. Exactly. I mean, we are all authors, and we all have a story to write and to bring to readers, and another author is not, in my experience, the way I see it, is not a competitor. It is someone else who also makes stories. I mean, people read books. They don't read just one book. They read, I mean, they have this high of a pile to be read. I know, I have that myself, both digitally and physically, of books to be read. And I mean, I have a pile like that here at home. Um, and I have a wish list still of books that I also want to read that I don't have yet. So we are not competitors. We all make that whole imaginative world, but also the real world. We make it better with all of our books. So we can only help each other with that. And having a bouncing partner is a crucial point for success. Actually, it has been studied by scientists, and it does make a difference. Yes, I believe so as well. It can help so much. I mean, there are things that I might not know, and Dida might know, or Andy might know, or someone else in my community might know, and that way you can help each other with making things better, and that's awesome. That I feel that is awesome. And it's great that that scientists have actually studied that and have come to the same conclusion as we do. And did you say it's wonderful that my flutter nymph has turned into someone important? Yeah, yeah. It's such a lovely creature, and I mean the name of my studio is Kingfisher Wyvern Studio, because that also has a significant meaning to me. It's That's something I will tell about later. But the flutter nymph is, I mean, the Kingfisher Wyvern is partly inspired by kingfishers, the birds, and wyverns, and it has a whole history. But the flutter nymph is purely from my imagination and inspired by other creatures like the sea angel and like a certain type of monkey, things like that, and birds. But it is purely my imagination, and I really see it in different varieties in Tergaenae and in the Genema Chronicles and in the world of JNC's Pet Galore. So it will be. It's becoming a like I said, it's becoming a mascot. Also together with the Kingfisher Wyvern. And the Kingfisher Wyvern has a meaning in a completely different way. It's on a, I don't want to say a higher level, but a different level. It stands also for the vision I have for my studio and for the things that I create. While the flutter nymph is a purely fantasy creature, and thus has its role in all these worlds. And there's one particular flutter nymph who still needs a name. So if anybody has a wonderful name for a creature like that, please let me know, because I still need a name for the flutter nymph that is becoming more and more important in Nasya Nejat's story and in the Tergaenae Chronicles. This one particular creature, and it's a fun-loving creature. Flutter nymphs are very social creatures, and this creature, she doesn't. She kind of maybe has a crush on Nejat. Tiny crush. I mean, these are tiny creatures. They fit in the palm of your hand. So think about them like the size of a, I don't know, a hummingbird or smaller. What are these little birds in my garden called? The sparrows, birds like the sparrows and smaller birds and hummingbirds. Um, I think that size. And this particular flutter nymph is just, she's fun. She's fun to be around. Dida, you say it shouldn't start with N since both MCs it's dealing with have names on N, starting on N. Yes, you have a point with that, and I have to say, I have no idea how they both started with an N. I just happened to like those names, and well, it just happened, coincidence. Jess, hi! Thank you for joining us. For those watching, Jess is another member of my community, and it's wonderful to have her around as well. Did you ask, how about a repeating name like Chinese nicknames that are repeated twice? Oh, I like that idea. And there's one thing that I need to keep in mind. The flutter nymphs have their own language. I mean, they are as for communicating, they don't speak our language. They don't speak the common tongue. Well, they don't speak it, but they understand it. Um, their language is more the language of our birds. So they tweet, chatter, chit chat, whatever. It sounds more like our birds, like sparrows and such. Um, so that they cannot speak their name in the same way that we would do. And luckily enough, Nejat understands and speaks flutter nymph. Well, he understands what she communicates. Not everyone can understand the language of flutter nymphs, and that's that can also become hilarious later on. I think there will be hilarious moments with those two and others. Did you suggest FX Ruru or Riri? I think Riri is better. Yeah. F yeah, it sounds fun. You say, yeah. I foresee a lot of fun in the future in the later episodes of Nejat and this flutter nymph, and I think Nasya will need to learn the language because she certainly needs to understand certain things. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be fun. There will be some misunderstandings, of course, but that will all be worked out. And later on, this particular flutter nymph will also have an important role in the main books, but that is something I can't tell anything about yet, because that's about the main books, and that's not something I'm going to discuss yet. Dida, you'd say with a twittering type of language, it makes sense with simple sounds. Yeah, exactly. It's those simple sounds is what is easier for humans and other people in Tergaenae to communicate. The other people are also based on creatures. I have a people that is based, for example, on meerkats. Don't ask me why, but they can talk. So they too have their own language, but they can speak the common tongue. Although you will notice that the common tongue isn't easy for them. That's the deities had a hand in that, in making sure that they can communicate in a different way with people who speak the common tongue. And did you say it's my big, yeah? Well, that is why I love suggestions like yours and from Little Writer Doodles and others and Fidina and everyone else in the community in Jazz. You guys, you all managed to give me ideas for names and all other things to use for creatures and characters in my book. So yeah. So let's see, Riri. I think Riri is a good um, name for this flutter nymph. But it's a sound that she makes more. So I can see. I'll let it simmer for a while, but it might end. I might end up with that name. And did you say you just go for whatever pops into mind first? That's oftentimes that is just excellent. I mean, of course, sometimes you will find names that might have a meaning of which you think, okay, so that's not what I'm going after. And sometimes you find, like for instance, Nasya. Her name is it comes from Anastasia, and that has a certain meaning, and or rather it was inspired by the name Anastasia and by a Turkish series of which I don't know the name right now, don't remember the name right now, but the one of the main characters in that series has a certain name or a certain nickname, and that inspired the name Nasya. And she is her character is far different than what her name than the meaning of her name originally. Her mother and father gave her that name with a certain idea in mind. I mean, don't all parents do that, but in the end she turns out to be quite different from that meaning. I won't say it's bad, because it isn't, but people who might first hear the name Nasya in Tergaenae might expect her to be quite different than how she is. So yeah, that's fun, especially because she also is part of a network. She has a team also, and she is part of a, well, not network, more an organization of sorts, and she knows all kinds of fighting arts and martial arts and things like that. And that is something people really do not expect from her, especially based on her name. So that's how people can get started with a certain idea in mind about this character, and in the end they will find that she's vastly different. So that's going to be fun. So we'll see about that. Did you say you like to have already a Princess Lysiana, and there's High Queen Eunice, and her heir in the future will be named Luciana, and on top of that you have a chunk of future story where a dragon Larissa showed up? Okay, yeah. That's a lot of L's. So going with the first that comes to mind, not always good. I totally understand that. Yeah, but sometimes you might use nicknames of sorts, like Lesiana might be Siana or something. Just shorten it if that helps. I would most certainly keep Lunice. I mean, that. I couldn't imagine her differently. Luciana, that might be a bit too close to Lesiana. That's yeah. And oh, you say I think Princess Lesiana might get a different name in due time. I can imagine that. Yes, Yes. And you say you have been naming like that. Yeah. It's sometimes you just need to look for parts of a name that you like, or something, um, another term or another name that essentially means the same as what you're trying to say with the first name, and in that way give characters each really their own name, to make sure that your readers also can still make the distinction between the characters, not only based on how the character portrays himself, but also by their names. Because if you have characters that have very similar names, then you might get confusion amongst the readers, because they might not remember the exact spelling of the name of character A. And so when they read about character AA, they might think, well, wait, wasn't she supposed to do that, or supposed to be there, or supposed to not like whatever she doesn't like? So that might cause confusion. So in that case, it's always good to see if you can find another name for a character. Jess, you totally get this. You have an Angel, an Alex, and an Amadi. Well, I think even though they all start with an A, the names themselves do not, to me at least, they do not seem that similar enough to cause confusion for me. But that's maybe also because I relate to an angel I see her like a female, and Alex for me is more a boy, and Amadi is more maybe kind of like Middle Eastern Arabic, so that's a completely different character for me. So that for me they are really three different characters, but of course it all depends on how you see it yourself. And Dida, Lunice, that's not negotiable. Exactly. Just probably going to change Amadi's name in the future. Oh, I kind of like that name. Too bad. Dida, you don't have much about Princess Lesiana yet, except for having her exist. Oh, that's much easier to change. I agree. And the dragon might get a different name as well, so that might solve it. Okay, that can indeed very much help. Dida, A names are strong. There are many of them in the world. Yes. Depending on where you come from, names starting with an X or with a Z, or I think, or with a Y. Especially the X and the Z. Those are names that you don't see often, unless you go to China, for example, or I think Korea. No, Korea not. Japan maybe, but at least China. China has lots of names with an X and with a Z, especially last names, surnames, but also more and more first names. So that's. But it's interesting how it can differ on sides of the world and between countries. Jess, you say it's really interesting because Angel is a man and Alex is a... Oh, really? Oh, that's fun indeed. That's interesting, yes. Dida, you'd say keep that. You have a name Zafan. That's also a very interesting name. Because, again, names with a Z it's not something you see often. Jess, you like the name Amadi too, but you're struggling to make it work, and you're worried about it coming across as controversial, certain some circumstances in the novel. Why? What makes you worried about it coming across as controversial? if you can talk about that, if you feel free to discuss those circumstances. Um, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is perhaps more Middle Eastern or Arabic, but for me that doesn't give a negative feeling. It's more the way a character can look. It's like I have for now because I kind of like those names. Elif and Ömer. I saw those names in a Turkish series, and I like names and what they stand for. So I'll probably keep them in. And they are for good people, so that might be surprising to some, but I don't care. I just like the names, so that's going to be fun. Did you say Zafan is derived from Stefan or Stefan actually? Oh, okay. I had no idea. It's Zafan, Stefan. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you like Amadi as well, but the most important thing is to make you feel good about a character having a name you like. Exactly. Exactly. Or behave, not only looks. Yes, that is true, Dida. That is so true. It's for me, it's so many things. It's the meaning of the name, and of course, I also make fantasy languages. I'm currently working on a few languages for Tergaenae. There is an old language, or a language I created really early on for the Genema Chronicles. It's a Dreamish language, and in the process of creating those languages, I can also create certain names with meanings in that language. So I can actually simply give the name a completely different meaning if I want to, and make it fit with my world that way, because it is a fantasy language, and that gives a whole lot of freedom in a way. So that's fun. That's fun. Just of course, it's meant to be a Middle Eastern name, and initially you were going to have his character be Muslim in his beliefs, but he decided, like characters do, that he was from a Catholic background. But the thing you're most worried about is that as a white person, is it really problematic to delve into these things? Well, what I would advise you in this case, and it is something I'm going to do as well for my own worlds, is to seek out people who have a Muslim background and who have an Arabic or Middle Eastern background, and talk about it with them, and tell them what you have in mind for the character, and or what you have written for the character. Just show them what you have written for the character, and see if they are offended by it, or if they recognize themselves or someone from their community in that character that you wrote. I mean, there are Western people, as in traditionally Western people who were raised Catholic and who decide to go to another religion. I know people who have changed indeed to becoming a Muslim. So nowadays that can be very different. In my case with Tergaenae, I'm not discussing it right now, but once I have written the books, I am most certainly going to ask certain people to look at it and to read the books and see what they think of those characters. So that will be so that it's not, what shall I say? How shall I say that? I mean, Tergaenae is not a world you can compare to Earth one-on-one, but Tergaenae still has all kinds of religions and people coming from all all kinds of places all over the world. So that means that there are people of color in Tergaenae, and there are people, I mean, dark people, people who are more Arabic, Middle Eastern. Um, there will be people with slanted eyes, like Chinese people have, like Asian people have. But there will always also be there are also people who have a color you just do not see here on Earth, um, because of where they come from and what they eat and how they do things, and so that influences their skin color. Um, so that's a whole Tergane is a whole different world on its own. But in the end, I do want people to kind of at least recognize a little something of themselves in the books, because that way they can actually relate to the book. Let me see, catch up on chat again. Did you say you need to take into consideration the different language and naming traditions of the people involved when giving names? Yes, exactly. That is true. And don't worry, just write your characters. Don't ask if things are appropriate. That is solid advice. I mean, that is exactly what's going on. Just you say you guess you're just frightened. Honestly, you still have another character of color, and you think your knowledge is just lacking in that area. You know, especially when you're writing the first draft, that's not something to worry about at this stage. You can always change that. You can adjust it, and you can see if you need more conflict or less conflict, or more explanation or less explanation, less stereotyping, more stereotyping, things like that. That's something you can do in later phases and in later drafts. Your first draft is to get it all out, and perhaps in another draft you will find that having a person of color in your book doesn't even matter, because the color of the person doesn't matter, but something the character does or says or thinks or whatever is what matters in the book. And of course, I do realize, I mean, my ex is not white, Caucasian white. He's half Indonesian, so he has a different background as well. And friends of mine and old friends from middle school and from high school, I had friends there as well who had very different backgrounds than I had. And of course they were subject to discrimination and things like that, but that is something that you can pay attention to more when you have written that first draft. Then you will see where you are lacking things. In your first draft, just don't worry about it. It's okay. And Dida, what I suggest, you agree, but it's for a time after. But oh, you're referring to something I said for earlier about the things. Yes. In the first draft, try to push off that fear, Jess. Make notes and research later. Exactly. And Jess, you say absolutely, which is why you're keeping the name Amadi for now. Excellent. And Dida, if you like it, keep it. Yes, that is true. And Dida, you have people of color in your lands. You're trying to describe people in an ambient way to let people interpret themselves. But Nagwil FX, he's definitely Arab looking. Yes. Oftentimes I hear from people of color and people from Asia, Arab looking, Middle Eastern looking. They take offense of things like almond eyes and olive skin and things like that. Almond eyes are simply slanted eyes. Olive skin is maybe a bit more tanned than our white skin. Is different tanned than our white skin when we've been in the sun. So don't compare it to food. Don't compare it to I don't know. Find other ways, like Dida says, indeed. Find other ways to describe such a person without how shall I say that? Find ways to describe such a person, the physical appearance of such a person, without comparing it to food or something like that. That already takes away a bit of the offense from people of color and from people of Asia and Arabs. Also, see if you can bypass the stereotyping. Oftentimes in books and movies and series, people from Middle Eastern are the bad people. Why are they almost automatically the bad people? I mean, no, they are just people like you and I. So having such a person and deliberately, or if it fits your story, I mean, deliberately giving them a good role, that will make your readers who are of a different color or a different religion or something like that, that will make them feel emboldened. Is that the word I'm looking for? It will make them feel like they are recognized and acknowledged as good people instead of bad guys. So I think that is an important way to deal with it. Dida Naguil is a development of the name Nigel, which sounded too much like Nigel, which you don't really like. So Naguil is more pronounced like Spanish Miguel. Okay, well, that's an excellent way to do with it, I think. And Jess, of course, you're really just trying to lift everyone up in your story, all gender, races, sexualities, etc. And you don't want people to interpret it wrong, to be honest. I think that is excellent. That is an excellent way to write your story. And I think it's very important that you are so passionate about social issues and that you feel the freedom to do that in your story and to give a podium, if you will, to people like that. I mean, in my books, I have two aunts. In my main books, I have two aunts from Isla, and they are lesbian. And that is from my personal experience, because that is something I have in my family. And for me, it was always a positive experience. So that is also what I hope to portray in my books. And I hope that people from that community, LGBT, I don't know the exact word. I mean, it's been changed so much. I hope people can recognize themselves, and that they don't feel offended, but but instead that they feel acknowledged and that they feel valued. If you when you manage to make readers feel valued, because of their religion, their sexuality, their color, their physical appearance. I mean, people who are blind, people who have lost a leg, people who, I don't know. There are so many reasons why people nowadays, for some reason, are discriminated, while it's absolutely not necessary. If you manage to make these people feel valued just by reading your book, then I think that you have taken a major leap to your readers, and that's excellent. Dita, still, that's for a time after first draft. Yes, it is. I mean, if you already have an idea, um, just write it in, but do not linger on it. Do not worry too much about it. That's not necessary. And yes, of course, yes. And did you say yes? Don't describe people like food. Exactly. The single best advice until now in today's stream. Thank you very much. And bookmark. Yeah, I have no idea how I can do that because it's been a while. um, and Dida, you say you just love how Nagil. Oh, my apologies. Nagil has shown himself to me. He has a delicious tan and a beautiful, characteristic nose and warm, very dark eyes. Excellent. Nagil. Nagil. Okay, I always thought Miguel. It was more like Miguel. Miguel. So it's not Miguel. It's Miguel. And so it's Nagil. Oh, okay, okay. I understand. And you did manage to challenge yourself and write a future scene with two gay men making love, one of them forcing his mother to watch. Oh, wow. Since you wanted her to feel embarrassed. Okay, yeah, that's a challenge. Yeah, I don't see myself writing such a scene, but sometimes it's necessary to make a point, and um, in this case, if that if that is needed, then it needs to be in there. It's as simple as that. Just to say, oof, that's something else. Exactly, it certainly is. Indeed, it was uncomfortable to you, afraid of doing it wrong, since you're straight and white, but you focused on what they sensed and felt. Timestamp says 3:42 on the bookmark. Okay, wait, so you have... Okay, in my streaming tab, I can't... Oh, wait, here, bookmark, add stream marker. Ah, okay. Now I see add stream. Okay, so later on I will have to find those bookmarks. So hopefully I still can find them back. I have no idea. I think I tried to find it earlier with another stream, but I think that stream was way too long. If I remember correctly, it was 6 hours or something, and that was way too long for YouTube. YouTube didn't understand it anymore. It processed the video, but I couldn't edit in any way or whatever. So yeah, that was weird. But Dida, getting back to your point, it was uncomfortable for you, afraid of doing it wrong since you're straight and white, but you focused on what they sensed and felt. I think that is exactly the point. I mean, I'm straight as well. I'm white as well. But in the end, those sexual acts are all about feelings and how you make the other person feel. And it doesn't matter, well, at least to me, and I think you feel the same. It doesn't matter if it's two straight people or two gay people, or if it's an orgy. I mean, let's be honest, there are people who do that. I can't imagine myself doing that, but there are people who do that. And there are people who are polygamous, is that a word? Where you have multiple partners, but not exactly at the same time in bed, sort of. So yeah, it's because because the most important thing is that both partners, or all partners in bed, feel valued and feel good about what the other partner does with them, and I think that's the important thing. Jess, Angel and Amadi are kind of a couple, but they never really confirm it because they are worried about being gay, going to hell, etc. They are both from very Catholic backgrounds. Oh my. Yes, that can indeed be an issue. Um, I think it might be good to show them having those worries, um, exactly because they have that background, um, and how their parents and I don't know if they have siblings, how the siblings feel, how the rest of the family feels, how friends feel. I mean, there is in United States, but also in extreme religious parts of the Netherlands, I know there are people who feel that being gay can be treated as a disease, and they can be gay people can be healed from that. I mean, I have no words for that. I just feel sorry for the gay people who are confronted with such situations, um, because it essentially means that they are seen as someone that is not valued for who they are, and I mean that must be horrible. That's yeah. Just you feel that so much. You have a scene where they make love in a church bathroom style. Yep, yep, yep. Because really, it's the only time they get together. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Did you say they're not bookmarks until I make it? Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. I'm going to write them down for now. You said 342. That was the advice about, I don't know anymore. Uh, advice. Advice. About people, about not describing people as food. I think that I can only timestamp that once the video has been processed, but I don't know why I don't see the timestamps appearing somewhere for me, because that is what I would have expected. Um, I mean, I can make bookmarks. Um, I can add a stream marker, but I would have expected that um, when you as a moderator make a stream marker as well, that I would get a notification of that, and that I would see something about that somewhere. But apparently I don't. So if you have more marks during the stream, please let me know, because then I can include them. Oh wait, timestamps. Oh, that's a good advice. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's the then it shows the times. Yeah. Like that. Okay, let me see. 342. Let me see if I can I can only pin a message and report, remove, etc. But I can't bookmark it like that. Can I do this? Okay, I've now added the stream marker. Markers appear in editing. Oh, I'll have to see how that works later on. I have no idea if that stream marker is now set at 342 or at 354. I don't know. We'll see about that later on. Let's see. Catch up with chat again. Dida, you just have to mention you were 12 when your best friend's sister became her brother. Okay, okay. And you were only 12. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Um, that's quite a long while ago, knowing you, and I think that at that time they really took a leap of faith and really had a lot of courage to do that. Um, I mean, even now, that is still such a problem if someone decides to do that, and I don't understand why. But yeah, people really have courage, and also people who come out saying that they're gay or lesbian or whatever, any one of those forms, um, lesbian, queer, and no, and any of those LGBTQI whatever group. Um, People who come out saying they feel like that, they have so much courage because there are still so many people um, who can't deal with that, and that it is something I can only admire. I mean, in that respect, I think as a straight white woman, it's much easier for me, because I do not have those disadvantages, if you will. While people who have another sexuality preference, they do have a lot of disadvantages because of what people think about it, and I mean, I can only imagine what they're going through. Dida, you wrote a threesome just to challenge yourself about that cliche trope after the gay sex. Okay. I have to be honest and say it is something I have never written before. I have written scenes with straight people. Um, Even there, I focus more on what they feel than the very explicit graphic interactions. I mean, I have read these very explicit graphic interactions in stories. It can be done in a very good way, and I might adjust my scenes after when I have written more and I've challenged myself to do it more. Um, Writing a gay scene is something I simply haven't done yet. I haven't run into characters that wanted to do it right there and then. Just showing the worries is exactly what you do. There's a moment where Angel is just kind of hanging over the Bible in disbelief about the man must not lie with men as he does with women. Okay, that's, yeah, that is an excellent moment uh, to make him ponder about it, and to make him how shall I say that, um, to make him question his beliefs, or his religious beliefs. I mean, can he still believe in such a religion if such a religion apparently is so adamant against gay people? Also, I have to say, based on things I've read in the past, whether they are true historically or not, I cannot tell that because I'm not an historian. Um, I feel that a lot of things that are included in the Bible and in other religious texts have been brought in there with a certain purpose, and certain historical experience has shown that in the past things might have been completely different. Um, which is kind of interesting. I just read a piece of two authors, two researchers who researched the roles of men and women in, I believe, Neolithic ages. So that's really, I think, hundreds and thousands of years ago. Um, we are educated that we are told. I'm sorry, we are told that in those times and from those times, and that it is ancient, that women are the gatherers and that men are the hunters, and that women do not have the physique to be able to be a hunter. And these two authors just turn it upside down and they say, well, you may think that, but we find evidence, physical evidence, that women do have the physique to be able to do that, and they did that. So a lot of things have been written from a certain point of view, from oftentimes from a male point of view. And it's not only historical things and religious things. I mean, look at medicine. There are so many researches that have been done where the base is how a male body reacts to certain things. From what I understand, it can be quite different, for example, for a woman to have a heart attack or for a man to have a heart attack. Apparently, they have quite different symptoms. But for years on end, for decades on end, it's always been, no, it's these symptoms because that is what men showed when they have a heart attack. And same goes for other things. So that is a way of thinking that might not always be true or always be correct. It's not a discussion I want to dive into deeply during these live streams, but it is something that might spark some inspiration when you write, because those are all different points of views, and those different points of views can give your characters something, but it can also give the people around them something to think about or to do or to say or to withhold. So yeah, that can make a huge difference. Okay, but going back to I've been talking a lot. Okay, did you say to you it has been a natural variety of over normal that people have different sexualities? You noticed already then it was something people reacted to, and my best BFF tended to avoid talking about it. I can imagine that. Yes, that is correct. Oh, that's from the earlier timestamp. You explain where to find it exactly, and oh, thank you for your compliment. I've come such a long way already with learning this YouTube stuff. Thank you very much. I still feel I need to learn so much more, but it's a process, and I think it's fun. A lot of things coming up. Did you say your best friend's sister became her big brother? Yes, it was early times and not yet legal in Norway. He went to Denmark, a girl, and came back a boy over 3 operations or something. It wasn't a sexual thing. No, it's oftentimes it's not even. It doesn't even start out as a sexual thing. It starts out as someone who really doesn't feel like they are in the right body. They don't identify themselves as female or male, and I think that's something we should respect. Yeah. Jess, you like that your character's trying to find support? Yes, that's wonderful indeed. Indeed, you haven't written much sexual stuff, but like Fedina has said at some point, it has to come naturally. Yes, it's not something that you. Let me put it different. It's not something I would include just to have it in the books because it needs to be there. Um, it needs to serve a purpose, and I take in um, in that respect, I kind of take Outlander as a guideline. Um, both in the book series and in the TV series, there are sexual scenes, and they can become more explicit, but they serve the series, both the book series and the TV series. They don't just throw it in because it is expected. No, it really serves a function, and I feel that that is exactly what we need to do in our books as well, and not only the sexuality things, but also or the sexual things. Let me put it that way. But also all the religion things, politics, etc., etc. All those things. They need to serve a purpose in your book, and that is what is important. Dida, you say the Romans didn't think bad of homosexuality. Exactly. The fun part is my dragon companions are parabaptized, and I read the first time I read about that was in how's the book series called? I don't remember. It's the Shadowhunters from the TV series and the book series that was written by Cassandra Clare. I don't remember the correct book series name. I read there that it was something from ancient times indeed, and I thought, yeah, that it's part of that world. Until I looked it up, and it is something from ancient times. And the fun thing is, Parabatai weren't gay at all, even though they did have sexual encounters, and they did give each other gifts and things like that that could be interpreted as. But it was more that because it was a military group, and they wanted a good relationship with each other, and that was why they did that. And eventually, those men oftentimes simply got married and had a happy marriage life. And so yeah, that's quite interesting. There is not much known about Parabatai. I spoke to a historian in Leiden, in one of our big museums, and he told me there isn't much known about Parabatai, so I can easily make up lots of things that fit into my world. I'm also not quite sure if I will keep the name Parabatai. I might just make it into a different name in my chosen language. I'm not quite sure about that yet. I'll see about it. And Jess, you say, yeah, definitely. You think sexual scenes either have to enhance intimacy between characters, or move the plot along, pregnancy, unhappiness about what happened, etc. Yes, exactly. That is indeed how you should do that. I'm gonna mark that as well. Can I do that? Stream mark edit, mark that appear in the video editor after you stream ends. Yeah, okay. Did some even think of homosexuality as something sacred, and I've borrowed that one. Yes, that is a beautiful way to think about that. I have something, I don't remember where. Oh, right. One of my dragon companions in the main storyline has two different colored eyes. One is brown and one is blue. And to be honest, it was something I saw with what's his name, Dominic Sherwood, I think, from the Shadowhunters. He has 2 different colored eyes, and I have made it in such a way that even his team members might sometimes feel a bit weird about it because they don't know exactly to which eye to look. Of course, they can just look at either eye, but his different colored eyes also means that he has certain abilities. He can see much more, much farther than others can see who have 2 normal eyes. So that is a way to play with physical appearances, and respect those people and show respect to those people who have those physical deviations, if you will, from what others consider to be normal. And those can be revered. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you revere someone who can see much further than any of us can, or who has an extreme good hearing, and they can, I don't know, put their ear to the ground and hear armies coming from miles away, for example. And indeed, homosexuality is something that can be revered as well, or other things. Look for that beauty in what is different, and make it so that it is not frowned upon, but instead really appreciated. Did you say some even thing? Oh, I had that. Yes, male supremacy belongs to the singular male god perspective. That's why I have a goddess. Excellent, excellent. I think that's why I have multiple goddesses, deities, whatever you want to call them. I have both male and female deities. But for example, the deities of life are all female, and several other important, what others might consider to be important, are also female. And also not only the deities, but there is a people that have many more female warriors than male warriors, for example, kind of like the Amazons from the myth or from history. Those were women warriors. I mean, why shouldn't we have that? Just Invisible Women by Caroline Perez is really good reading on this. Will make you angry though. I'm not into reading books that will make me angry at the moment. Did you say lots of people thought women couldn't get heart attacks? Yes, exactly. So weird. And good example, 2 different eye colors. I've used a similar thing with the one who loses eyesight on one eye. Thing is, he uses that eye to look into other dimensions except for the physical. Interesting, interesting. See, that's also one way of dealing with it. And say, for example, someone has lost a leg or part of their hand, some fingers. That also might somehow I don't know, give some importance or something in how do you say that? A sign that they have overcome something really really bad or something like that. I remember in the Glass of Thrones series by Sarah J. Maas, one of the elves, or what was it called, has tattoos, and you can really very clearly see them, as they are also it's not simple tattoos as in colors, but also more like scars, if I understand correctly. here on Earth, we still often look down on people who are covered in tattoos. Um, but tattoos also tell a story, and they can also give meaning to something, to what they have, um, to what they have been through, or wars they have fought, or I don't know, a map of the country, for example. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't do that in the world of Tergaenae because things might change. I mean, there are mages who can actually move the earth. Well, they won't move mountains for that, but they can change geography. So I wouldn't take a map as a tattoo in Tergaenae. That wouldn't be wise. But okay, I mean, if someone would want to do that, that's up to them. Dida lost finger. Give to a deity so he'll get something else in return. Yes, that might be it indeed. Yes, yes. And did you say thanks for the book recommendation? Yes, nearly overlooked it. Excellent, excellent. I love it when those things happen in the stream. People also give each other recommendations for books and all other things, and that's also a way of helping each other, and I love that. I love that. Did you say tattoos? That's something you have included in your story. Excellent. And symbols to tell belonging, if not a map. Yes, yes, that might be it indeed. Or something to remember. I mean, there are also people who have a tattoo of their dog, for example, or the names of their children, or for their mother, or whatever. Those are all things you can use in your story, and those can be very heartwarming. So why wouldn't we use them? So yeah. So, oh my, it's already way past 4 p.m. We've been talking a lot about world building, and I love it. I really love it. But I also want to write. So my suggestion is that we start a writing sprint now for 25 minutes, and then we will return after that, and see how we're doing. Dida, been through so much heavy stuff now. You love it, okay? Fruitful session of speaking. Yes, that's true. And thank you. I enjoy that you guys love it. And you say yay for writing. Excellent, excellent. Well, let's start a writing session. And for this writing session, I have a writing prompt for you. Let's see if you can use it, if there is an option for you to use it. In my case, I won't use these writing sprints now. It may come in later, much later in the main books, but at this moment it's not necessary. The writing prompt is medical aids, things like glasses, a walking stick, maybe a fake hand when you've lost your hand, and then you get a wooden hand or a hook or whatever, things like that. See if you can use it, or you do not have to use it literally. It can also be metaphorically or figuratively. There are several ways to use these writing prompts, not only literally. So let's get to it. And like always, I forgot to start my timer app. I mean, that is really something I just always forget. Okay, so we are starting a 25-minute writing sprint. And let's see how far we can get. And what our characters bring us today. Jess, you are so using that writing prompt. Oh, excellent! I'm glad you can use it. Dida, sounds funny, but you won't try to include it just now because I know where you're at. Yes. like I said, I won't use it right now either because the scene I'm writing right now, or as it's slowly turning out to be a chapter, um, it doesn't need any of those things. I might use it later. I will definitely use it later, probably in, I don't know, book one, book two, at some point when Nejat still can't walk properly. So yeah, it will be used, but not right now, not in this scene. Even though this scene is from a later book, end of book three, in book two, I mean, or the start of book three, somewhere around that. But let's get started. Before we just skip all the writing sessions altogether, because I really do not want to skip any sessions. So 25 minutes, and then we have a break, and we'll see what to do in the break and what we're going to talk about. I wish you all a happy writing, and may the words flow, and may your characters surprise you. Happy writing! And that is the end of our first sprint. How did you guys do? I managed to write 737 words. It was a tough scene, a tough part of the scene, but also emotionally, or emotional, I should say. This is still from the later book. I can't tell you anything about it yet because there's so much that has to happen before this, and I do not want to spoil it. Um, there are also things I still need to figure out um, to see if this chapter, this scene, is indeed going to be as it is right now. And for that, I again need the background story. But yeah, there's a lot in it. I'll have to see how it goes. Jess, you wrote a whopping 867 words. My God, you did awesome! Congrats. That's really amazing. And Dida, you don't have an exact number as usual. Ah, that's good. Well, I mean, as long as you feel that you made progression, that is what counts. And did you also say good job, ladies? Yes, excellent. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I'm still working on the story of Nasya Nejat. This piece is for one of the later books. I will be writing more in this chapter for the coming few sprints, because it's a scene that's still playing in my head, and I know that when a scene keeps playing in my head, I know that I really need to write it, because apparently for some reason I need that scene at that moment. So that is why I keep on writing it. And I'll have to see how it goes after that. Once this is finished, once this chapter is finished, because I can safely say this is becoming a chapter right now. Once this chapter is finished, I will go back to the background story, because there is a lot that's going to happen there. Certainly really fun things as well, but I think that I will find Nejat will be a terrible patient. I mean, he is a guy, a man who hates being incapacitated in one way or another, and the wounds that he got in the ancient forest, fighting that guy, well, that will put him down that will cause him to not being able to do a lot for a little while. So yeah, he's gonna be beat up. Let me put it that way. Pain in the bum. And that's yeah, it's, I mean, he really can't handle that. And the fun part, of course, for us, for me as the creator of the story, and I also hope for people who might read it later, that the confrontation with Nasya, because that is going to happen as well. I mean, Nasya sees him and sees how he responds to things and how he does things. And, well, I mean, she's a fighter as well, don't get me wrong. But I think, at least at that point, she is a better patient, or she would be a better patient than he is. So yeah, he's gonna have a tough time with her as well. I'm really looking forward to writing that and to discover more about how Nasya feels about how he acts and how bad of a patient he is. And of course, there are the healers, and there is Riri, who has just been named. Thank you, Dida, for naming this particular flutter nymph. Riri is, let's just say, she has a tiny crush on Nejat, but she absolutely loves Nasya as in a friendship way. And when that moment between Nasya and Nejat is going to happen, I think that Riri will kind of choose Nasya's side, despite Nejat saving her and all that. So yeah, that's going to be that will cause hilarious moments, I think. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And Dida, I guess you are laughing about what Nejat will be as a patient. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. And yes, you were such a wonderful person to help me give Riri her name. She finally has it. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So yeah, naming your creatures and naming your characters, that is always I think it's I experience it as a fun thing and a challenging thing, because you want, as an author, you want the perfect name for your character and for your creatures and basically for everything. But what you might think is a perfect name, your readers might not think. So that is always in the back of your mind somehow. I mean, there's always this nagging little voice. I know there are many authors who have the same problem. There's this nagging little voice, and usually it stays down, and then at some point it will rear its ugly head and say, "Yes, but you know what?" Those are the moments that I really want to take a hammer and just hammer down that little nagging voice, because that's distracting. But sometimes it's also, I mean, you find a name and it works. I mean, for the moment, I have I have loads of characters that will play in either my main books or in this story, and they are called team member who. And in previous streams, I've talked about the team member who is good with creatures. That team member still does not have a name, and I have described them in several ways in other wording. So luckily, what I do in these cases is I put them into brackets, and in the right now I also have a deity that needs to be named, so I have put it into brackets. The deity of brackets, give this deity a name, and to make sure that I recognize that something needs to be done, I give that piece of text a different color, I bold it, and I give the background of that text also a different color that really stands out in the text. So that way I know, okay, need to look, okay, there I need to do something. So for the team member, it's the same, because I think that the text I've put into those brackets has changed, I don't know, a dozen times, but essentially it all boils down to the team member who is good with creatures. And then there's someone else who wants to learn more about being good with creatures. So that's a whole sentence behind that team, that other person. And at some point I will find the name, but I'm not gonna stop myself I'm not gonna stop myself to find a name first, especially when I'm writing that first draft. I mean, that name can change a gazillion times. The names in in my main books have changed several times until I found several names that were fit for my characters. But it didn't mean that I stopped writing. I just went along, and now I need to go through all what I wrote to see. Okay, so there's that name. Oh, and it's changed there, and then it's changed again, and then it's changed again. So I need to make sure that I have all the proper text with all those characters, to make sure that I have everything I need for that one character. So yeah, as in my writing process, that might also give hilarious situations, because at some point I might think, well, didn't I already somewhere have a piece that I wrote about this character, or a piece of conversation? Where is that? And then I'll have to read through everything to see, oh, right, it's there, and then the character was named that. Oh, I didn't put that down somewhere in my notes. I know myself, so yeah, that's gonna happen. So yeah, that it's gonna be fun. And it's a process you go through. I mean, the first name is oftentimes not the final name for your character or your creature or your plant, or whatever it is you want to name. Or a building. I mean, buildings can have names as well, right? So don't get yourself hung up on that. Just keep on writing, and those names will come on later. Did I say yay for problem solving? Yes, yes, indeed. And naming is sometimes an unnecessary hurdle for many, as a name can be changed later. Exactly, exactly. And as long as when you have your final version of your story, or at least the most final as you can make it, as long as you have the final name in that and you are happy with that name, that's all that matters. What happens between your very first draft and your final draft, your final manuscript, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your character name changes a gazillion times, as long as you make sure that in the end, in the final version of your manuscript, the name is the way you are happy about it, or is the name you are happy about, I should say, and all the text is correct. That is what is important. And as Dida says, it's important to not give a damn in the first draft. Exactly, exactly. Inner critic, shut her up. Yes, yes, that's why I have that, well, that figuratively hammer. I still need to buy a hammer to, I don't know. I mean, the hammer for my chores. I mean, I have a glass tabletop, so I don't think that the glass tabletop will be happy with a true hammer hitting on it. So I might just get a rubber hammer or something to shut that inner critic up. And Dida, you also like to repeat the trick of writing eglaf when one can't think of the word for something when writing and being in the flow. Yes, that's a word not meaning anything, can't be written by accident, and is easily searchable. Yes, that is a very good advice. I'm gonna bookmark that as well. Okay, I should. Okay, I think that's good. Because if you, exactly what Dida says, if you use something that you wouldn't write by accident, then you will recognize it at some point, especially if you use one and the same word. For me, I put it into brackets, and I, like I said, I give it another color text and another background color, because that way it is for me recognizable. And oftentimes I describe that person, or I describe that situation, or whatever, or the building, or the creature, or whatever it is that I need to give a name, because I have a lot of deities, for example, and I need to know what the intent, the purpose of that deity is in the name, for example, and that is why I do that in that way, instead of using a word like eglaf, that is not easily written by accident, because that way for me, I see not only that I need to give a name or something, but also what I was looking for a name when I was writing the piece. Because I mean, it might happen that that I come back to it in weeks. And, I mean, it could be a month until I come back to it. And simply having, for me, it doesn't work to simply having a dummy name, but instead having the description of what it is supposed to be. Then that will help me on the long run, in the long run, to make a proper name again. Did you ask what's the word for that concept, for example? I think I said too much to remember what you mean with that. My apologies. And when starting a second or third draft at the latest, it's important to make a wiki out of one's names and concepts. Yes, it's that is why I have character profiles in my Scrivener document, and even though I do not have final names, I may say Dragon Companion to be named number 1 to 6 or whatever, and I describe what that person is like and what I'm looking for in a name for that person and what it needs to mean, and that way I still have the ideas of what it's going to be, and I'll work on it when I'm not writing. And sometimes I get the best name ideas when I'm half asleep, or when I'm at work, or when I'm doing grocery shopping, for example. I mean, ideas can come at the weirdest moments, I can assure you that. Did he also say, yes, let's have a session on tavern names at some point here or in the Discord? Yes, tavern names and names of other important buildings. That will be a fun thing. Oh, we can do that once NaNoWriMo is over. Let's say not the first Friday after NaNoWriMo is over, because that will be the day after NaNoWriMo is over, if I'm correct. Yes, so not next Friday, but let's say the 8th of December. How about that? I like that idea. I'm going to bookmark it again. I make a note for myself. December 8th, live stream about names for taverns and such. That will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I need to grab my manuscript back. Yes. Did you say make a magical hammer? Yes, that's better for glass tops. Well, that I have. That's something I do have indeed. Thank you for the tip. And Iglaf can replace a word for a subject or concept one can't find the exact word for it once, so avoiding snagging on it. Yes, you're right about that. Different things worth trying out if one doesn't have a good solution yet. Yes, you just have to look for the best way that works for you. I mean, what works for me, or what works for Dida, or for Jess, or for any other people here, it might not work for you. So you have to choose what works for you. It's the same with outlining. Some people write outlines with minute details. That doesn't work for me, so I don't use that. I just use keywords and key phrases, and that's it. And the same goes for world building. Some people want to have their world built until they have figured out every tiny little detail. to be honest, I have to say that is not the best way to handle your world building and your story writing. Because you can literally get lost in your world. So yeah, do world building, but also write. But I do realize there are people who want to hammer down all the details before they start writing their story. It depends on what you want to do. And there are people who simply do not do anything about world building at all, and they just write a story and say, okay, that's it. I've read fantasy stories of which I thought, okay, you say it's in a different world, but I mean, in a different era, but it could have been, I don't know, in my place, in my hometown, right now, right here. And I didn't see any fantasy thing about it, while they said it was a fantasy thing. So, yeah, that is when you do need some world building. But it is all how you as the author feel about your story, and about, especially about your process, how you want to tackle things, how you want to write and to build your world, or work with details from Earth that you need in your story, things like that. So yeah, it differs per author. Dida planners do the job thoroughly, but might have a perfect excuse to procrastinate forever as well. Yes, you've mentioned several times balance. Yes, exactly. Yes, that is. And there is a fine line between doing too much and doing not enough. And that what I experience is that I have some world building, and when I go writing, I will find new things that I need to figure out. Because at that moment, I need that information. But it can also happen, like right now, what I'm doing right now. I had written the greater part of my first book. And then my ideas changed partly. And then Nejat and Nasya came up, and well, they announced themselves. And then I figured that I needed a lot more information, so I started to write the background story. That is how the background story came to be. And it's not something that I thought up before, but it is that balance that Dida also tells about. I need information from their past to be able to write the future, because I need to know where my main book starts and what already has happened to Nasya Nejat. I have a rough idea, but I need to know in what condition they are. I need to know what has happened and what still needs to happen. And how other people in their teams are, and if they are still there, but also friends and family, how they are doing. So that is all information that I didn't have, and so I started writing the background story, and that is what goes. The world building is almost all intuition, and the abrupt puzzle pieces clicks. That typically happens in the shower for me. The forever snowball, yes. Excellent. So, how are you guys doing at the moment? Are you in for another writing session, or again 25 minutes? It is now here in the Netherlands. It's almost 5:15 p.m. My apologies. So I'm ready for another writing session. if you guys all are ready for that as well. Did you say when distilling alcohol they throw away the start of the stream because it would not be strong enough, and the end because it will be slapped? Yeah, that's okay. Did you say let's go? I have to go in a bit. Excellent. Well, in that case, we start another writing session, 25 minutes, and I have another writing prompt for you. And the writing prompt is, and that is because we have that coming up in the Netherlands, holiday candy treats. This is Tai Tai, and this is really, let me see if I can open it without making too much noise. Okay, that was a lot of noise. Tai Tai, I have no idea how to say this in English. I think it is a Dutch treat. This is Tai Tai with sugar clumps in it, and it's something that my bakery makes, and I love it. So seasonal candy. Oh, and right, and this is also, and we have that only with Sinterklaas, and these things as well. Chocolate lettuce. This is a marbled one with white and milk chocolate. I don't think it goes all the way through. I think it's a cover. The base is usually milk chocolate. And there are a lot more seasonal candies that we have here in the Netherlands. And we have seasonal candies for Sinterklaas, and we have seasonal candies for Christmas. So your character, let me see, right, your character is confronted in one way or the other with seasonal candy. What does she do with it, and why is it there? And I'm going to check why my lighting is really low right now. It's not changing. My apologies. It's getting really dark here in the Netherlands. I mean, it's late autumn, so I see that my that I'm a bit dark. I'll need to figure out how to fix that for the next stream. Anyways, seasonal candy, that is where we were. We have it with Sinterklaas and with Christmas, and also with Easter, the Easter eggs and the Easter bunnies, etc., and chocolate. So your character is confronted with seasonal candy. What is it, and what does she do with it? Does she like it? Does she make it herself? Or does she hate it and throws it away? See what you can do with it for a writing prompt. Dida, you say lava fruit candies. Ozark loves them. Oh, interesting. And Lucia buns. That's popular in Scandinavia. Oh, can you post later on a photo of that in the Discord, because I'm really curious about it. It sounds also interesting. It sounds like we have special buns here in the Netherlands that are how do you say it, when a priest I can't think of the name, blesses the buns, Sint-Hubertus broodjes they are called. I think they are with anise seeds and something else. They have a pretty peculiar taste. You have to like it. And each bakery has their own recipe to make them, but in the basis they are called that, and they are always blessed by the church. So yeah. And did you think the Stale Lucia buns are boring? Oh, okay. You hate burnt raisins. Ah, yeah, no, that's burnt raisins don't taste good either. No, you're absolutely right about that. It's one of the things when making an apple pie, which reminds me, I still haven't made my apple pies for this month. And I had this idea of these small apple pies, these cupcake apple pies. That's something I might make this week or something, but yeah, that kind of fell into the forgotten basket of preparations. Um, but indeed, burnt raisins are not tasty, and it's a thing in apple pies as well. If you use raisins in that, you need to be careful that they don't get burned. Okay, but writing sprints. I just gave you all the writing prompts. Seasonal candy. I wish you a lot of fun with it, and I would say happy writing. And did you say hide them under the apple slices? Yes, that's exactly what I do. Hide them under the apple slices or the dough, and I cover my apple pies quite neatly with the dough in various forms, and then the raisins are usually quite hidden underneath them, so they don't burn and still make the apple pie tasty. Okay, next word sprint or writing sprint. 25 minutes. The writing prompt is seasonal candy, and I wish you happy writing. And I love to hear what your characters are doing in the scene that you're writing. Have fun. that signals the end of our writing sprints. I needed to think about that. How did you guys do? I managed to write 740 words, which brings me around 1500 words right now. So that's a good thing. 1500 words written during this live stream, I mean. In this piece, Nejat had some surprises he did not see coming, and Nasya as well, by the way. And he meets an old acquaintance, which he didn't see coming either. So yeah, this is going to be interesting when I move forward. I have no idea yet how things will be, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I can't say anything about it yet because it would give away way too much for the future. All I can say right now is that this is someone who Nejat has met before, but he didn't expect to see this person ever again. So yeah, that's surprising for him. This particular person is someone Nasya has met, but not in the same way. She doesn't know this person that well. And the other surprise is something I really can't tell you guys anything about yet. That is a surprise in the books. So yeah, surprises all over, and things I can't tell you about yet. Things the Tergaenae High Council doesn't allow me to tell you guys yet. So yeah. I mean, there's a lot I want to tell, but no, this is something I really can't tell you anything about, unfortunately. I hope when you get to read this chapter, you guys will like it. That will, yeah, then I will need to do a lot of foreshadowing for this in my background story, and also in the first two books, or in everything in the main story that will play before this chapter. I really need to foreshadow several things, so this doesn't come as a surprise that doesn't feel like it shouldn't belong there. But I'll need to think about how I'm going to do that. Did I know a specific word count this time either? You don't want to spend too much time on that. I mean, that's totally understandable. For me, it's like I said earlier, word counts are just a way to keep track. For me, this is more it is a way to keep track, and at the same time it doesn't quite matter. I mean, for me it doesn't matter if I get to that 50k by the end of this month. It would be fun, but for me it's more important that I get this part of the story down and the background story, because there is so much that is both in this chapter that I'm writing right now and in the background story that will also play out in the main story later on, that I'm just satisfied with the fact that I managed to write it all and to get it all out and to discover all those hidden secrets and hidden information. So that it's fun to do. It's fun to write. So yeah, that for me is the most important thing. Getting this out, discovering all this information, discovering all these secrets, and with that information, um, have a good base to continue my main story again, so that it gets better and better, and that is what is important to me. And if I make it to 50k with this chapter and the background chapter taken together, that's awesome. If I don't make it, it's awesome as well, because I have now so much more info than I had before I started this. So that is what is important to me. Dida, I'm checking on the chat. You have to mention you need to be gone in like 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry to see you go. But I'll catch you in our community later on again. And hopefully you can join us tomorrow again. For those who aren't subscribed yet, tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. Amsterdam time, I will do another live writing session sprint live stream thing. I will start at 1 p.m. I'll probably go till 5 p.m. at the latest. Oh, I say that, but sometimes I go on. But yeah, until 5 p.m. probably. With lots of writing sessions again to help you get to your 50k goal, and for me to just keep on writing because that's what I love to do. And Dida, you say word count is a tool, our way of measuring ourselves in horsepower or something. Yes, exactly. But if that's a real life thing, it's hidden. Does that make it source powers? Good thing. I have no idea. Source powers. Oh, that's interesting. That would be something, I think, for the scholars and to decide on that. A real life experience. Now the XP was hidden behind the reaction button, behind the reaction button for the chat, and for some reason it hides some parts of the chat. Experience points, yes, that is indeed XP in games. Is experience points indeed, and I think that is an excellent way to look at word count. Indeed, experience. You keep on writing, and it may sound cliche, but the more you write, the more experience you get, and like in game dev and like in gaming, but especially also like in game dev, game design, because that is also a creative thing. You keep on making games, you keep on designing things, and when you look back years after, you look back at the first thing you created, you think, oh my god, did I ever create that? Because you have so much more experience. The same goes for when you are gaming, and you've been gaming at a high level in a certain game, say League of Legends or World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online, games like that, and games where you can reach scoreboards and things like that, and you've been constantly improving yourself, and you have reached those high limits in the scoreboards time and time again. And then you run into a character of your own. You find a character again that's at a really low level from years and years ago, and it has the worst gear combination ever, and the worst stat distribution and everything. And you're like, holy moly, did I make that character? How stupid was I? But that is with the knowledge of years and years of experience of gaming. And the same goes for writing. I mean, when I look at pieces I wrote years and years ago, I am also like, did I really write that? Did that come from me? but it's because I've written so much and I have worked on world building so much. I mean, if I look at stories from decades ago when I was a teenager, I mean, I did not have any experience in writing. I did not have any experience in world building. I didn't know any other writers. I didn't know any authors. Of course, I read books. I did that, but I didn't have any of that experience. So my stories were, well, we can say Mary Sue in dozen format, but also stories of which I now think, okay, yeah, that's really just impossible. I mean, even with all the amount of world building you can do, you cannot do this. But that is looking back with so much experience in world building and writing, that that it shows how much you've grown and how experienced you've become, and that is essentially what that word count also shows you. You have kept on writing, and no matter how bad your writing was, you've kept on writing. You've shown that you can do this, and that you are willing to build that experience, and that is how you can view that word count. Dida, you say yes. It has been quite a year for me. You've learned so much, and you've written like 800k in the last almost 13 months. Yes, I mean, it is so incredible what you've done, and it is, if you are, how shall I say this? If you are capable of doing that and you have an awesome story, keep on writing. Don't let anybody stop you. And also, if you have just written, I don't know, 20k words and you love writing, keep on doing that. Let nobody stop you, because writing is a creative way to express yourself. And if you do that with 20,000 words or with 800,000 words, it doesn't matter. It is your story, and no matter how often a theme has been covered by a gazillion writers, this is your interpretation of the story. This is your interpretation of the theme. And yes, themes have been told, but your story has not been told, and that is what is important, and that is what you do with keeping on, or with while you keep on writing. That's what I wanted to say. So yeah. And Dida, you say you need to see them as idea drafts. Yeah, the really old stories. Yes. Yeah, I see them as idea drafts, but those are really. I mean, I remember as a teenager I wrote at least a part of a story about a group of teenagers who were on a boat, on a sail ship. They were all in a class together, and something disastrous happened. And in the end, they landed on an island. There's that class of teenagers, and I think one or two teachers. They landed on an island, and that island was the only island that was safe and also environmentally safe. And the whole rest of the world was a complete disaster and toxic and things like that. And when I look back at it, I think now, okay, how did I manage to write that? But apparently that was an idea I had back then, and I don't know, I might write that in the future. I mean, it is a dystopian story idea, but yeah, I won't. If and when I decide to do something with that idea, I need to do some serious world building, because I mean, one island that is still untouched, while all the rest is toxic, on one and the same planet. Yeah, I need to do some really serious world building about that. So yeah. Dida, you've sacrificed some free time you could have wasted on other things, but it has been so worth it. You've stopped procrastinating this and stopped wasting time on useless everything. you know, I don't see it as sacrificing free time. This is your creative outlet, and it's another way to spend your free time. That at least that is how I see it. It's Writing is a creative outlet, is something that is not given to everyone. I've spoken people who read a lot of books, but also who also say, I admire authors because they have the imagination to write those books, and I simply do not have that imagination. That is what we authors have. We have the creativity to make a story, to make characters, to make, in the case of fantasy stories, to make a whole world, or part of a world, just part of Earth, for example, for urban fantasy stories, or modern fantasy stories that play here on Earth, etc., etc. And sci-fi, I mean, you have to have an imagination of things that can potentially happen in the future, that can potentially be developed in the future, which is one of the reasons I do not write sci-fi, because that goes way beyond my imagination. I just write fantasy, medievalish sort of fantasy, and it's like I said, it's not something that is given to everyone. Just like people who create TV series and movies, that is not something that is given to everyone. I see the creative outlets, and also artists, singers, but also digital artists and painters and everyone who creates a work of art. We have a creativity and an imagination that goes beyond what others can imagine, and it differs per person. I mean, a blacksmith has a totally different kind of creativity. Um, they can make awesome weapons and awesome tools that you. I mean, I can't envision it. I can't imagine it, but they do it. So that is another form of creativity, and we have that. We can do that, and we can entertain people with it. We can bring joy to people with it. So yeah, that's great, and I love it. Let's see. You've sacrificed some sleep as well and chosen not to be social. That not necessary is a loss to choose away. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine that. Oh, it's almost a Lost series kind of thing, but it sounds darn interesting. Oh yeah, that one island. Yeah, cleaned by magical skills. Could be. The fun thing is, Lost is something I hadn't seen back then because it didn't exist yet back then. But yeah, it might be something for the future, and indeed cleaned by magical skills, or some deity or whatever. Somehow that island is still healthy and good. That is what I had in mind back then, and that is still somehow in my mind. I remember it's not that I just recently read that piece, because I don't even remember if I have it anywhere. I think I do in those, those I think 5-inch floppy disks, and I mean, I don't even have a floppy disk or disk drive in my laptop anymore. I just have my hard drives, my external USB hard drives. So I don't even know if I still have that text anywhere. It might be on a CD somewhere. I don't know, CD-ROM drive. But it is something that is still in my mind. So yeah. Interesting. Did you say, of course, but it's free time you choose to write instead of socialize or watch TV or? Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, you have to go. No, you've been lingering a little too long, even. Ah, well, thank you for being here. I loved having you here. And Jess, you gotta run too. You're being summoned for social stuff. Well, it was great having you all here, and I hope you can join tomorrow as well, 1 p.m. Amsterdam time. I will post the link in the Discord, and let's see for the chat if I still have it here. Oh, I think I posted it in the Discord already. Let me grab that link for you guys. Yes, here it is. That's the link for tomorrow's time, so that you can check if you can be there, if the time is suitable for you. Dida, last thing you said, writing is a gift, that's for sure, but bye for now, you have to be up. You'll be back later in Discord though. Excellent, so we will see you later again. And Chess, you gotta run too, and you will be here tomorrow. Excellent, excellent, that's great to hear. I love having you guys here, and I will see you back in the Discord again. And we will do more live writing sprints tomorrow at 1 p.m. and see how far we can get. I see that it's already 6 p.m. I spent way too much talking about world building and things, but that's okay. That's also fun. Jess, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad I could offer the writing sprints. I'm glad you liked them and you enjoyed them. And remember to post any questions or share your milestones and everything also in the Discord or in the comments below for those who are still or who are watching later on. Just like and subscribe because that way you will be notified when the new live sprints go live. There are plans. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Because I announce the live streams before I do them, so you'll be notified in time. The live sprint for tomorrow is kind of a surprise, so I haven't planned it yet in YouTube. But I do weekly live sprints, live writing sessions at Friday. So those are 3 p.m. my time. So you can. My apologies. I have some itching in my nose. So if you're looking for more writing sprints, be sure to subscribe so that you'll be notified of new weekly writing sprints. So tomorrow 1 p.m. we'll do another writing session, and I will probably go on till 5 p.m. So that's about 4 hours of chatting, catching up with Nano, and writing sprints and writing prompts, and see how you guys do. And if you have any questions and things you'd like to talk about, world building or for your story development or character development, feel free to ask in the chat, in the next live stream, or down in the comments. You're always welcome to ask the questions, and whenever possible, I will answer them for you. And if you are looking for a wonderful community where we help each other with world building and writing, and feel free to join our community in Discord, and we are happy to have you. Well, for me, since it's already 6 p.m., I'm gonna call it a day, because I don't know, there's this thing that's called food, apparently, dinner, and I still have to make it. So yeah, I'll have to go and make dinner, and I'll see you guys tomorrow again. I wish you a wonderful evening, and I hope you have much creativity ahead for you, and then I'll join you again in writing tomorrow.